I've been wanting to talk about this one for a long time. Today we're looking at The Mysterious Cities of Gold. The Mysterious Cities of Gold was a French and Japanese collaborative animated series originally released between 1982 and 1983 in Japan and France respectively. However, we in America got to see the series in 1986 when it originally aired on Nickelodeon. And I should mention that for this review, I will almost entirely be talking about the English language version, since it's the one I'm most familiar with. The series was loosely based off a novel called The King's Fifth, which was about Spaniards coming to the American continents in search of treasure. In the show, that is one of the major plot points, and some of the characters share the same names as characters from the book, but that's where the similarities end because the show goes to some pretty crazy places. And unlike most cartoons I've reviewed, this show forms one long linear story, which was not really a common thing back then. So reviewing this is going to be a bit of a challenge because while there is a lot to talk about, I don't want to spoil any major plot points, and because I want to encourage people to check the show out for themselves, just know that I won't be going over everything. So let's meet our main characters. There's Esteban, an orphan boy living in Barcelona. As a baby, he was rescued from a sinking ship with only a gold medallion being the only clue about where he came from. He also seems to have the power to bring out the sun when it rains, but whether or not he actually has some kind of power or it just being a big coincidence seems to be kept vague. The sailor that rescued him is Mendoza, who is a navigator for the explorer Magellan. Mendoza is kind of awesome, a real man's man. He's an expert navigator even on land, he never backs away from a fight, and he managed to steer a ship for 4 days straight through the Straits of Magellan, which is some of the most dangerous waters to navigate. After befriending Esteban, he convinces him to join him on a trip to Lima, Peru to find out more about where he came from, if his medallion has a connection to the ancient city of gold, and possibly if his father is still alive. They're joined by Sancho and Pedro, two sailors who are heading to the New World to find riches. They're also kinda goofy and pretty much serve as the comic relief. On the ship, Esteban meets Zia, an Incan girl who is taken from her people by the Spaniards so she can decipher the language of the indigenous people. She has a medallion identical to Esteban's, which means she also has a connection to the City of Gold. On their way to Lima, the ship gets wrecked during a storm and they wash up on an island where a boy named Tao has been living alone. He's the sole survivor of a race the show calls the Hiva people. However, in every other version, his people are from a place called Mu, which is an ancient continent of legend that existed in the Pacific Ocean and had vastly superior technology. Basically, it's the Pacific's equivalent to Atlantis. He wants to find out more about his people and how they've influenced the people of the mainland, so he joins the others along with his parrot, Cocopetal, who is one of the best animal sidekicks ever because he's always on alert and warns them when danger is near.
Run for your lives! Watch out! Watch out! Danger from the river! Danger! Take to the hills! Danger from the river! Danger!
Also, look at him! He is so goddamn adorable!
Great! Cocopetal, you get in on the act.
Step right up! Step right up! Come closer! Come closer! Come closer!
What? Ouch! Ugh!
Ouch! Ouch! Ouch!
Why were there no toys of this show? Do you know how many kids would have loved a Cocopetal plushie?
I'm Cocopetal, Cocopetal.
Yes, his name is Cocopetal, and you can thank him. He flew over here and found you.
Thank you very much, Cocopetal.
What's your name? What's your name?
I feel like I'm forgetting something. Ah! The theme song! One of the best opening themes ever!
Children of the sun, see your time has just begun. Searching for your ways through adventures every day.
I wish I could play more of the song, but I'll probably get in trouble for copyrighted reasons. Just go look up the full version. Trust me, it's awesome. Once again, we have the great composers Chaim Saban and Shuki Levy to thank for this nostalgic masterpiece, as well as the rest of the soundtrack. So throughout the series, you get some really great tunes ranging from creepy and profound to playful and fun. Though sometimes not exactly appropriate. In the first episode, the locals in Barcelona want Esteban to use his magic sun powers to clear up the sky, so they hoist him up on a platform while this music plays.
No, stop! I'm getting dizzy! It's too high up here! I'm frozen! Take me down!
This isn't supposed to be a wacky moment. His life is in danger. Anyway, our heroes set off across the continent in search of the fabled City of Gold. And along the way they face danger, learn new things, meet new people, explore ancient ruins, and solve Indiana Jones-style puzzles to reveal ancient secrets. I always like watching characters put things on things to reveal other things. If you were a kid who craved adventure, this show is everything you could have ever wanted. And this is where the show truly diverges from the book, because while this starts out as a seemingly standard adventure, it starts to go off the rails, but in a good way. How off the rails? Well, let's start with this. Right after they meet Tao, they discover a nearby cave where the Solaris is hidden. It's a giant solar-powered, self-rowing boat. Oh, and it also has a freaking Archimedes death ray. It burns things like ants under a magnifying glass. This is crazy technology, even by today's standards. Unfortunately, early on in the series, the Solaris gets destroyed. But much later on in the series, they find the Condor, a giant flying metal bird that's also solar-powered, just like the Solaris. Props to Tao's people for thinking green. Many centuries before it was even a thing. The Condor is awesome, and it's become one of the most iconic things associated with the series. It also brings about one of my favorite things about the show. Watching the characters' jaws drop whenever they discover something new and unusual. Then they take time to study it and figure out how it works. Things like this help you stay invested, but at the same time it does slow things down quite a bit. And there are quite a few moments where there's no dialogue. Though I do like these parts because they're usually of a character sneaking around or trying to figure something out. Others might not agree, but some might prefer it over the dated English dub. It's not terrible, and certainly nothing on the level of something like Speed Racer, but it does show its age.
Know what, Zia? I'll bet no one on the whole ship knows we're here. Wait a second, where did you get that medallion?
I don't know what plots you are brewing on this ship, but one thing is sure, neither of these children is supposed to be aboard the Esperanza. You, come here!
No, Crocker, that's not true.
How can it be otherwise, Esteban? What other children could have sunk a ship that big and defeated the governor's army not once but twice?
Oh, and there's a lot of times where you can tell they're Canadian voice actors.
Tomorrow you will set out on the trail to the high peak.
But you Pawnee, we can't stay here. Pizarro soldiers at the ramparts of your fort.
You may be sure, Esteban, Spanish soldiers will never force their way in here, not as long as I have my brave warriors.
So this is a French-Japanese cartoon about Spaniards traveling to South America, dubbed into English by Canadian voice actors. A lot of international flavor in this show. On the plus side, you might recognize some voice actors from some old anime dubs.
But if I may remind you, it was you who said that from now on, anyone at all would be capable of steering the ship. Therefore, I now have no further need of your services.
Fortunately, the voices were at least decent. Though I gotta admit, Sancho and Pedro did get annoying at times. And they gave Sancho a stutter, which they emphasized.
Sancho and I will be leaving tomorrow for the new world aboard the Esperanza to find a city of gold.
Yes, a fabulous city of gold. It's much simpler to attack children. That's your style.
After you, my dear Sancho.
Oh, no, my dear Pedro, after you.
Go on. For once, I'm letting you go first.
No, not me. Oh, no.
He's like a human version of Porky Pig with a sore throat. I should also mention that the voice actors for the kids were actual kids for full authenticity.
Wow, was I hungry.
That's much better. Thank you, Tao.
Now you can see around my castle, my royal castle in the trees.
However, the voice actors for Esteban and Zia never did any more acting after this show. It's a shame because as far as child voice actors go, they were alright. Especially for the time. They did a good job fleshing out the characters too. For a while, Mendoza seemed very protective of the kids, but over time you start to question his motives. Don't worry, it's coming. He always has this smug smile on his face, and you never know exactly where his alliances are or what he's going to do next. In fact, there were several times when he seemingly betrayed the kids to the Spanish soldiers.
I have just come from Spain with a special mission to convey to the governor personally this girl standing here beside me.
There, I was right. I knew Mendoza would betray us.
You men, take these children. Get through. Mendoza!
Yes! I've been waiting years to make that reference! Though these betrayals end up being a ruse to help them get away from the Spaniards. However, later on in the series, he openly admits that he's pretty much in this for the gold.
Well, whatever happens, that great treasure he talked about doesn't interest me. In fact, all I care about is finding the gold.
But towards the end of the series, he starts to realize he might actually like the kids, and grows as a character. Esteban's character grows as well. In the beginning, he was very timid, prone to seasickness, and had a fear of heights. But the drive to find out about his origins and if his father is still alive helped him get past all of that. And later on, he decides that even if his father is not alive, he still wants to keep going with the quest, no matter what.
Oh, I've made you sad. You're still looking for your own father. Oh, I'm so stupid.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I've nearly given up hope.
What?
No, not given up hope exactly, but I only mean that even if I never do find my father, I'm happy to travel the same roads he once did.
Similarly, Zia is also looking for her father, and every time they find out where he's been, it keeps her moving as well. But most tragic is easily Tao. Being the last of his people, he spent his time learning everything he can about them, and building an elaborate treehouse on his island just to help him deal with the loneliness.
I started to build those houses up in the trees straight away. I just couldn't stop. I had to keep busy to survive.
And here's one of the things that made the show so great. It dealt with some pretty harsh subject matter. Stuff like war, deceit, greed, loss, racism, and even death are presented without apology. They even bring up stuff like human sacrifice and attempted genocide. In a show for kids.
It has no detectable taste, and it is very effective.
We will keep it in this jar, and tomorrow I will put it below the falling spring water. And since all the people of the village drink from that spot...
Why, it's almost as if this show takes its audience seriously. And yet at the same time, the show remembers that the main characters are kids. And they still act like kids. They're scrappy, playful, curious, and still have fun every now and then. So there were still many lighthearted moments to balance things out. Even when they were being chased by a bad guy, they were usually dispatched in a comedic manner.
Just the two of us, my fine fellow. I'll finish you once and for all. On you, Mendoza.
And even though they're considered to be messengers of the gods by the native tribes, Esteban doesn't really see himself like that.
But Yakuma, we're not messengers of the gods.
Yes, you are. Even if you don't know it, you have been chosen by the gods.
Kid, you have a destiny. Just embrace it. Some of us don't get to do that. My favorite character, though, has got to be Tao. He's the brains of the team, and whenever they face a problem, he usually finds a solution. In one episode, they meet an old woman that tricked a tribe into thinking she can predict the weather, but then Tao discovered she was secretly using an ancient makeshift barometer. Stuff like this is great for a kids show because it can teach them that there's always a logical explanation for everything. Though sometimes his genius can be taken to an extreme. I think his finest moment is when a village on a lake was about to be attacked by a rival tribe. So Tao builds a submarine to get the drop on them and scare them off. Suck on that, Da Vinci. You know, as much as I do like this show, it sure does give my suspension of disbelief a beating. Yeah, in case the flying metal bird wasn't an indication, do not look for historical accuracy in this show or you'll be pulling your hair out. Fortunately, to balance things out, each episode ended with an educational segment with live-action footage that'll say something about the history, culture, or geography of South America. Looking at this footage feels like I'm watching an old episode of National Geographic. And because of its age, I have a feeling that some of this information may no longer be accurate. But it was a nice little touch. But usually they'll try and tie it into something that happened in the previous episode. At one point, some guys tell Zia to interpret a bundle of knotted strings which supposedly has a hidden message. Then they explain in the educational segment that knotting strings was an ancient way of keeping records. Hey, I learned something! The narrator cracks me up though, especially the way he ends the segment.
Goodbye. Till next time.
Okay. That's hilarious. Especially right after he talks about something messed up.
To this day, the name of Hernando Cortez, the great conquistador from Spain, is stained by the memory of his cruel treachery to the king of the Aztecs, who had once welcomed him like a god. Goodbye. Till next time.
There was murder and bloodshed and everything burnt to the ground and all the children cried. Okay, bye. Well, it was nice that they were at least trying to educate the kids that were watching this. So there is one more thing I do want to address. It's not a major spoiler, but it is something that happens much later on in the series. Eventually, they run into the Olmecs, which were a race of ancient people they discover living underground. They have a giant crystal that they use to power very futuristic looking technology. They discovered the secret to immortality, and they have a flying ship. When I first saw this, I thought they were supposed to be aliens. I mean, look at them. They look like aliens you'd see in like a black and white sci-fi serial. What's confusing is they seem to drop hints that we might see aliens in the show. At the beginning of the intro, it shows a shot in space that zooms into South America, perhaps representing visitors coming to Earth, which is a theory that a lot of people have about ancient civilizations, though it's not really based in fact. And in one episode, they discover the Nazca lines, and in the educational segment, they say this.
And one can't help wondering just why they are here, and why they were made, and who on earth made them. It's all something of a mystery. There are some people who believe they must have been made by visitors from outer space.
Don't say that! Kids are watching! Thought this was supposed to be educational. But no, they're just guys that look like this now from years of experimenting with immortality. They're pretty creepy though. They run on all fours, they can climb on walls, and they make animal noises when they fight. But without spoiling too much more, they do eventually find the City of Gold, and things end off on a very bittersweet note. So that's pretty much the series, and normally I'd end it here, but there's more. In 2012, fans were delighted to find out that the Mysterious Cities of Gold came back for an all-new series. And it's not a reboot. They made a second season 30 years after the first series ended. Who does that? And they're off searching for another City of Gold. Yeah, remember the series is called Mysterious Cities of Gold, as in more than one. They did allude to that a few times, but with everything that happened, it was very easy to forget. In this season, they're in China searching for the next city, and they kept the same theme song, but gave it more of an Eastern flair to fit with the new setting. I particularly love the shot of the condor flying alongside a dragon. That's awesome. As you can see, they went with CGI for this one, but were able to incorporate the original designs, which look pretty good in 3D. The characters are way more expressive now, and there seems to be a bit more emphasis on physical comedy. Like, a lot more. Barely restrained, I'd say at times. It's almost like they had all these new animation resources and just went all out with it. We have new technology now! Use it! Use it! Characters like Esteban, Sancho, and Pedro were pretty much the same. Sadly, Mendoza's role seemed to be scaled back a bit. He still was there when they needed him, but I guess he got so much character development in the previous series that they didn't have much for him to do this time. However, they gave Zia a bigger role this time, which was nice, since of everybody, she probably had the least to do in the original series. But I think the biggest misstep was when Tao started developing a visceral jealousy towards Esteban and Zia. Throughout the series, they've been called the Chosen Ones, and were the only ones able to unlock all the ancient secrets with their medallions. But he was still an essential member of the team because he was the one who helped them understand the language and technology of his people. Him being jealous feels out of character, especially when it gets to the point where he starts yelling at them. After all they've been through together, this just didn't feel right. And you'd think he'd be smarter than that. However, the worst part has got to be the English dub. Some of the voices sounded okay, like Zia, Sancho, and Pedro.
Pardon me, Great Master. Watching you work reminds me of my father.
Why don't you want us to talk to Zares?
He promised to let us out.
But the others were just jarringly different. Just listen to Mendoza.
Tao is convinced. The people of the Mu designed your medallions, both yours and Zia's.
This time, Esteban and Tao are clearly voiced by adults, and they sound too similar. There were moments where I was barely able to tell them apart.
The shape of these dunes, they remind me of something. It's this way. Ha! All these dunes look alike. I think it's more like that way.
The dub of the first series wasn't perfect, but at least the voices fit the characters.
I meant your real father, the man who held you and gave you to the sailor who jumped into the sea. I was that man, Esteban.
The Chinese Empire, on the other side of the world. So there's where we must fly.
Whatever it takes, I have to find out what this ship is made of and how it works. It's my own way of getting to know my ancestors.
The beams of the medallion look just like the ones drawn on the map.
Look, now we have both keys that open the cities of gold.
How did you do that? That man was twice your size.
I know it's been 30 years, but couldn't they have at least tried to find some voice actors that kinda sound like the originals? Maybe?
Wake up! Wake up! What's wrong, Coco Petal? Esteban gone! What?
Even Coco Paddle sounds wrong. He should have been the easiest one. This time around, he's also present during the educational segments.
He said that there'd only be one brick left over at the end of the construction.
Wow! And did he win?
Yes, there was only one brick left. You want to try and count them all, Coco Petal?
No thanks. Parakeets aren't very good at math.
God, hearing him try to talk normally sounds weird. This time around, the educational segments are obviously about China, but there were a few that actually gave info on stuff from the series. Like one gave specs on the Condor. I thought that was pretty neat. Aside from a few issues, the second season is still pretty good. It picks up not long after the first series ends, so it keeps good continuity. It expands the lore, and there's a lot more of the same adventure and wonder from the first series. Though without spoiling too much, the ending kinda messes up some stuff that happened in the original, but it does leave things open for future seasons. Which there's going to be. Season 3 is already in the works with the possibility of more seasons in the future. When I review a series on this show, I try to stick to old shows that have ended, but I had no idea about any of this. Overall, I think I still prefer the original series, but it's really nice to know that such a beloved franchise is alive and well after all these years. Oh, also this happens.
No! Mendoza!
And the series is officially self-aware. I know the Mysterious Cities of Gold does still have a pretty strong fan base, but sometimes I don't think it gets the love and appreciation it deserves. Parts of it may not have aged well, but it still has memorable characters, great moments, and an adventure story unique for its time, and still kinda rare nowadays. Fortunately, if you'd like to check it out for yourself, you can find it on DVD. I should mention that when I was ripping the footage for this review, that for some reason, some of the first episodes were out of order. I don't know if it was a problem with my set in particular or just the DVD set in general, but if you're gonna look it up on DVD, just be aware of that. Sadly, despite being dubbed into English, it doesn't look like Season 2 got a US release yet. I've only seen Region 2 discs, so if you're looking to continue the journey, it's gonna be a bit more difficult. But at the very least, I'd say check out the original series. If you have an itch for adventure, then I don't think you'll be disappointed. You know, I hate to use that old cliche, but they sure don't make them like they used to. Hey, you know, it occurs to me, I haven't been keeping up with what's on TV right now. I mean, I've been so busy reviewing all this old stuff that I haven't been watching anything new. Huh. Why don't we have a look? In fact, let's check in with a few shows that I did watch before I, got wrapped up in reviews. How about Adventure Time? It ended? Huh. Well, I guess it was on for a while. Okay. How about Regular Show? That ended too? Wander Over Yonder? Cancelled? Gravity Falls? Wow. I really am out of the loop. Okay. What is on TV now? Oh, cool. Gumball is still around. And it's as insane as ever, I see. Good. This is clearly something somebody hallucinated. Oh, an action series. This looks cool. Yeah, I think I can get behind this. What are they doing? Why aren't they fighting bad guys? Why is everybody being all awkward and blubbery? Ugh, disappointed! Wow, this is still going? A bunch of kids doing things. Okay, fair enough. More kids playing outside. Furry kids playing outside. Is this really what passes for entertainment nowadays? Jeez. Some kind of magical girl show. Another magical girl show. Wait a minute, I know this show. This is Steven Universe. Oh yeah, I remember really liking this one. Good to know that it's still going. I bet by now it's built a large fan base of really cool, level-headed people. Hey, I've never noticed this before, but Steven kinda looks like me. This is getting weird. What else is on? What? Teen Titans? I thought Teen Titans was that semi-serious, lighthearted superhero show. What's going on here? Why are they all super deformed and acting like idiots? Why'd they turn such a good show into this? Oh no. It can't be. They turned them into Superhero Squad! Oh my god. I predicted this. In my first review, I predicted this would happen.
It was often lighthearted and funny and kid-friendly, but it got serious when it needed to, allowing an older audience to enjoy it. But more importantly, the kid-friendly aspect didn't destroy the integrity of the characters.
I feel like this is my fault. I did this! I did Teen Titans Go! Oh, jeez. Well, they can't possibly ruin anything else, right?
Hey there, everyone! My name's Lion-O, and I'm the star of a new show called Thundercats Roar.
What is this?
I'm a Thundercat, and this is my magic slicing stick, Sword of Omens. Give me sight beyond sight.
No! You've got to be kidding me! Well, what interesting times we live in. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in fate? Because I do now. My next episode is going to be my 100th review. And years ago, I reserved something special for that video. Something that means a lot to me, and I know means something to a lot of other people. And it seems the world needs a reminder of what made it great in the first place. Coming up next, Cartoon Clip Show number 100. Thundercats. Don't miss it.
Children of the sun, someday soon you're gonna find that your destiny holds the secret, holds the key.